As Taliban retook Kabul, Afghanistan descended into chaos. Afghans desperate to flee the repressive regime rushed to the airport, waiting to be evacuated safely. Besides America, several other countries, including India, have taken in Afghan residents. A sizable community of Afghan refugees already resides in India. So, what happens to these new arrivals in India? What is India's refugee policy? To put things into context, it is the United Nations 1951 Refugee Convention that protects refugees around the world. Current figure of refugees globally is over 20 million. Of these, more than half come from 5 countries: Syria, Venezuela, Afghanistan, South Sudan, and Myanmar. Despite India's rich history in welcoming refugees, India has not signed the United Nations 1951 Convention. This technically means that India does not have a policy or a law that protects refugees. Any refugee entering India is termed as a foreign national. Therefore, all the foreigners, refugees are governed by the provisions of Foreigners Act 1946, the Registration of Foreigners Act 1939, the Passport Act 1920, and the Citizenship Act 1955. Following the current Afghanistan crisis, the Indian government has announced a new category of emergency electronic visas for Afghans willing to come to India, but with a validity period of 6 months. However, there is no clarity on whether the visa will get extended. Since India lacks a formal refugee policy, so far, refugees, whether from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, or even Tibet, have been dealt with on case-to-case basis. Since India is not a signatory to the UN Convention, there are no guidelines on refugees vis-a-vis access to courts, education, or travel documents. There are refugee camps, but refugees don't have legitimate status in the country. India in 2003 said that the definition of refugee in the UN Convention is narrow and fails to recognize the fundamental reasons which give rise to refugee movements. India also said that the definition only pertains to the violation of civil and political rights, but not the economic rights of individuals. India has traditionally sheltered refugees from Tibet, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh. While India has not signed the UN Convention on Refugees, India has been a signatory to various other human rights conventions against torture, child and women's rights, and racism. Most of these protect refugees coming to India. The Constitution of India too provides protection to the refugees staying in India by ensuring equality before law and right to personal liberty. In general, India has provided all essential amenities to refugees until it gets safe for them to return to their homelands. Millions of refugees who entered India from East Pakistan during partition in 1947 were sheltered in camps till it was safe for them to return to Bangladesh. India has welcomed refugees in the past, most notably Tibetans and Sri Lankan Tamils. However, Rohingyas from Myanmar were not given refuge as India considered them as illegal migrants. Indian government does not officially maintain a record of the number of refugees in India. Though according to the UNHCR as of January 2020, India is home to at least 244,000 refugees and asylum seekers. Of these, 203,235 refugees are from Sri Lanka and Tibet, while 40,859 refugees and asylum seekers belong to other nationalities. In fact, there are many Afghan refugees who are already settled in India. India had allowed a fair number of refugees after the Taliban took over Afghanistan for the first time in the year 2000. The Afghanistan crisis has brought back the focus on Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. The act had amended the Citizenship Act of 1955 to fast-track the route to citizenship for Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis, and Christians from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, and who entered India on or before 31st December 2014. However, the amended act, yet to be implemented, will be of no help in managing the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. While India's efforts in response to the Afghanistan crisis have been laudable, including the quick evacuation response and the emergency visa implementation, the crisis underlines India's need for a uniform legislative policy for refugees.